Hey there, I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
Hard to master,
such as
Delta by Game Brewer. This one's coming to Kickstarter on October 17th. And it's a really fun game. We're going to talk about our kind of initial thoughts about it, but why don't we kick it to the overview first, which, Lance, you want to run us through it?
Yeah, so Delta is going to be a game for 1 to 4 players in which you are trying to get crystals and get energy and flasks, all to study different types of steampunk animals sort of kind of thing going on. You've got exploration, steampunk theming to this game. It's really interesting. Why don't we go down below? We'll show you how this game works, give you a turn overview, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it. All right, here's Delta from Game Brewer. Now, I'm going to try to explain this game to you as succinctly as possible. This is not going to be a full rules overview, just a brief one. You'll want to check the Kickstarter campaign to get the full details on this. And I also want to let you know everything you see in this portion of the video is prototype. The final artwork, components, and rules will be different once released from the Kickstarter. That being said, let me explain to you guys real briefly how this game is going to work. Now, you are going to play 6 rounds in this game, and each round is going to consist of 4 different phases. The first phase is going to be figuring out turn order, and that's going to be determined over here on this left side of the board. And whoever is furthest along on the cog track over here, and if there's a tie, it's whoever's on top, they will get to place their initiative token out here on this track, determining when they want to go in the round. And if you place next to one of these piles of tokens, you get to claim that token to be able to use for that round. You have to use it that round, use it or lose it. And so players would place their tokens in order based on the cog track, taking their respective tokens to be able to play first in the next phase of the game, which is going to be playing character cards. Now, players have decks of character cards that are going to have information on them, icons on the side. Now, you see these icons match, and you only pay attention to one side or the other. They're exactly the same. And then there's going to be icons up here on the top left. We'll cover what these icons briefly mean here in just a bit. But again, all players have a deck of starting cards that are exactly the same. And so you would choose one of your characters to play, playing them either on this left region of the board, this center region of the board, or this far right region of the board. So I'm going to cover what each of these regions do from left to right. So playing a card over here on this side of the board, if I were to play this fellow right here, he's going to earn me these benefits listed on the left and right side of the card. Again, only one side matters. You don't do both. And so if I'm the first person to play here, I'm going to place him in the farthest left, and then other players would place them in the next slot over. And I'm going to gain what's on here. So any cogs are going to move your cog piece up the cog track. And this is important because you will get victory points at the end of the game for how far you've exceeded on this track. And if you reach certain parts, you are going to get bonus tiles. And these are very important to help you to succeed on your goals throughout the course of the game. And these are first come, first serve. So you want to try to advance down this track as fast as you can. Coins are going to give you what is denoted in the region you play your card. And in this case, a coin is equal to another cog. So I would just move up the cog track again. And then if I were to have an engineer, which engineer cards are going to be the ones that have this icon on the top left. And you can see this fellow right here, he counts as a biologist or an engineer. You got to pick when you play him. And so if I were to play this guy, I would be able to get to do the engineer bonus. So what the engineer bonus allows me to do is I can purchase one of these invention tiles over here, paying a number of cogs listed here in the top left to be able to do this benefit at some point throughout the course of the game, flipping the invention over once I've used it. And you only get that again if you play someone who has the engineer icon on them, or you could have placed your token right here on the 4 slot and gained this token, which you could put on top of your character card and make them an engineer. That's how that token works. The middle region of the board here is going to allow you to explore throughout the course of the game, placing your flags on the different islands that you are trying to discover. And you want to do that because they are going to give you victory points at the end of the game, but they're also going to give you bonus tiles again. But you're going to need to be able to get crystals to do that. And here are the crystals in this game. And real quick, this is the Token Sesame token holder. If you want more information on it, there's a link down below in the description of the video, as well as a discount code, so make sure to check that out. But you need those crystals. So how do you get crystals? Well, you're going to want to play a card that gets you crystals. And when you do that, you're going to gain crystals. And the coin in this center region is good for more crystals. So this person right here would get me 2 crystals. And I don't know if I covered the stars yet. Some cards are going to have stars on them, and that is important for another phase in the round. We're going to cover that here in a second. Just note that more stars is a good thing. And so in this case, I would get 2 crystals, and starting in this starting region here, I could explore out, spending crystals to be able to gain victory points and bonus tiles and placing a flag on that region. And there are 4 different regions of the board. You've got this pink region over here. You've got this yellow-greenish region right here. You got the brown region down here on the bottom, and you've got the dark green region over here on the right. That'll come into play for a lot of the in-game cards and tiles for points at the end of the game. Placing a card over here is going to help you to advance on the tracks for the 4 different animals that you have in the game. You've got bulls, horses, flamingos, and turtles. And the more you advance down these tracks, the more those cards are going to be worth for you at the end of the game. So how do you do that? What do you got to play in order to be able to advance down those tracks? Well, you want to play ones that give you flasks. Now, flasks are good because, and these are what the flasks we received look like. Again, these are prototype. But when you gain animal cards, which we'll explain that here in a second, how you get these, you are going to need to pay a number of flasks to be able to have this card out in front of you to gain the bonus that's on the bottom, but also to have this card as something to give you points at the end of the game. Again, if I advance down the pony track here, I'm going to get certain number of points for every one of those types of animal cards that I have in front of me. And you can play any number of animal cards that you can afford when you come over here to this region. You can also discard a card from your hand to be able to advance 1 space down the animal track as denoted by the card that you're discarding. So this one would let me advance on the turtles. Now, if you were to play a scientist, and here's the scientist icon, or the biologist, excuse me. If you were to play that card over here in this region, you would be able to purchase one of these research papers. And these are going to give you in-game bonus points. And this one in particular would say 3 points for every invention tile that you have. And you would have to pay a number of flasks to be able to purchase that. So that's the main gist of what you are going to be doing when you play your cards, being able to do things on the board in the different regions. In the next phase of the game, we would take a look at all the cards that have been played, and this is where the stars come into play. So I mentioned the stars earlier are extremely important. And you would go in order from left to right, the number of stars on each of the cards, and whoever had more stars would get their first pickings of drafting for the cards that are available in that specific region. Now, in this case, there are no stars, so the tiebreaker is whoever played first, and this player over here would get to pick their picking of new cards to add to their character deck. So this gal right here is pretty nice. She gives you cogs, gives you a nice little bonus of being able to get other tokens when you place a tile over here, and she gives you 2 stars, so she's pretty good to have. This region over here is going to give you your animal cards and the bonuses for them on the bottom of those cards. Pretty nice. And then this region over here is going to give you additional ways to get points at the end of the game, such as maxing out on turtles and bulls will give you 6 points at the end of the game. Now, these cards are going to be replaced, and it's important to note that the decks do have round numbers on them to tell you which round you're supposed to use these cards in, as the cards are going to swap out for other types of cards as the game progresses. That's pretty much the gist of the game. At the end of a round, you will discard your cards to the respective sections that you've played them in. So cards here in the middle would come to this spot, for instance. Cards on the left side would go there, cards on the right side would go there.
And you do regain one of these piles of cards at the end of every round. So you're not going to have all your cards in hand. You're going to have to manage your discard piles, choosing wisely which ones you want back into your hand. At the end of 6 rounds, you're going to count up all your points, keeping track here on this score track on the outside. And whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. And that's a brief overview of Delta. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one.
And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Delta from Game Brewer. So, Jeremy, what do you think about this one?
I think this is a really fun game, and one thing that I really like is, in a lot of games, I like a tighter feel game, and I will tell you, if you're playing with more people in this game, it will be a tighter game. Benefit is you'll see more cards, and it makes the timing and the choices you make mean more because you actually have things to go for and you know what you want to see. Whereas in a lesser player game, it's still fun, but there's going to be, you're only going to see a couple cards in each row versus seeing 4, and then those choices really make you maximize your options.
Yeah.
It's an pretty easy game to teach. I would compare it to a teach of like Hippocrates, where you have these actions and it's not too difficult to teach, but then once you get the actions, your options are just vast in what you can do. And again, the timing of when and where you place your actions are important because you're going to have those 7 to 10 cards usually in your hand. And you may want the resources more, you may want the initiative more, you may want to utilize that coin in a certain spot. There's just so many things you have to think about, which doesn't increase to too much AP, I think, because the actions are still pretty basic. But you do have options, and you can't just say, well, this strategy is going to win, because it's not. I've tested a couple different strategies and focus in different areas in our few plays of this game so far, and it's not set in stone that you're going to win if you do this. You definitely won't see every single card or every single tile, and so you have to pick and choose what you think is going to be best for you that game.
And on that note, what I think I really like about this game is that there are plenty of opportunities to roadblock other people or disrupt what they're trying to do. It is a very open game to that, and being able to, well, I know that Jeremy's really going for those bulls, so I'm going to make sure to play my high star initiative card in that section to make sure I get first pick to take that bull from him. And that's just an example. There's several of opportunities in this game to do things like that. And what's really great is that not only am I getting a roadblock, kind of blocking him off from being able to do what he wants, but it does me good too. It gets me lots of good things. So often in gaming, I really kind of have to sacrifice my own benefits to disrupt somebody else. You don't really have that too much in this game. It is still very wide open. You have lots of opportunities to make good things happen for you in this game. And I love that.
Well, and with the roadblocks, it's not like you just block somebody, because you can still go and I can explore any spot I want that I can pay for. I can move up the inventing cog track. I can do that without being blocked. I can come over here and I can research these animals, or I can create these animals, no problem. Where it comes into play is, do I really want that invention tile? I need to go there, but I'm not ready to play this innovation card here, because you have to plan, because it's what do you want most in each section? Do you want the card most, or do you want to build up so you can gain the benefit of that region better? Or you just have to plan. It is a highly
planning game. This is a game that you want to think 2-3 moves in advance of what you're trying to do for that particular round. And it's a fantastic little puzzle experience of trying to think, okay, I know I want X, Y, and Z, but I got to be able to do this before I do this, because if I do it out of a certain order, then it's not going to be as optimal for me.
And it can give someone a head start. There are a couple times where I did something and I was like, I shouldn't have done that, because then I would have been first to pick my order. And that's another thing, is picking your order is important, because I may want to go first, but I don't have to take that first spot. I can go at the second or third spot, get the star or the biologist / inventor tile, engineer, and I can still maybe get first if they really want that coin token. So very important timing with when you want to take your turns, where you go on your turns, what you want to do, but not a difficult game to learn or actually play. It's just keeping track of what your focus is, and when someone takes what you want, where can you adjust? And it's fairly easy to adjust if they do take what you want. I found that whenever we played, I didn't focus too much on the characters. I was pretty happy with whichever character I got. I'm going to use that. I would focus on which in-goal objective card or mission card do I want, or which animal card. But not getting certain characters can be tough, because say you get the same type each time, well, that's not really going to help you spread your actions.
That's not going to help you get the resources.
There are so many options that you can think of, but not feel like you're creating this analysis paralysis per se.
And this isn't a deck builder. This is more a hand builder kind of game, because
a
hand management game. But I think at its core, it's a resource management game too, because the resources can be fairly tight in this game. And if you are not managing your resources well, you're going to come up short oftentimes. And yes, there are ways to kind of get out around that and still get lots of points. It's a bit of a point salad at the end. There's a lot of different ways you're getting points. But to do as best as you can in this game, it is a resource management, and you need to be very wise about how you're managing those resources, and the timing, as we keep mentioning, of timing out your actions to be optimal for you. So,
well, one last thing I think we need to say is picking up the right pile can be very important.
Yes,
because you may need a certain character that you played and a couple rounds before, and you need that one back to do certain things because you can't get the biologist tile that you need. So, or you may want some with heavy initiative because you know that you're going for a certain set, and
you need that last animal or whatever.
Yeah, in the last game, I was very set on I'm gonna get the star, and I'm gonna play a 2 here. I don't care what resource I get. I want that card. I'm working for bulls, and I got 7 bulls, which is pretty impressive to get 7 bulls in a game. But I mean, there's just things you're going to have to pick and go with.
Yeah. So, in long story short with this one, guys, lots of choices to be made throughout this one. If you're somebody who likes the decision space in a game to be vast, you are going to have that in Delta. This is going to give you a chock full of choices to make in this game. And as we've said several times, it's not going to give you too much analysis paralysis, because the options for what you're choosing in those actions, the mechanics of this game are fairly straightforward. So in all, it is a really good game. One that I'm going to be especially excited to see come out in 2023 that we can put on a top 10 list maybe when it does come out. So I highly enjoyed it. What'd you think?
I did too. I mean, Game Brewer is another company that's just knocking it out of the park with Hippocrates. I cannot wait for my copy of Oak to arrive. And so this is another one I think will be a big hit, just because it's that medium weight game. It's not going to be super heavy, not too complex as far as rules go, but you still have several options. So I think it's another great one, and don't get bogged down by the artwork looking like another game. This is not. It's totally different than other games. It does. People keep asking me what I relate it to, and it's hard to even relate it to a game because it feels quite different.
Yeah, it feels really unique. I don't know that I could think of a game either that it really.
I mean, it has similar mechanics, but the overall game and feel of it feels like something different.
Yeah, it stands on its own. So. But that's our thoughts on Delta. It is on crowdfunding right now, so make sure to check out the link down below in the description of this video so that you can check out that campaign now that you know all about it. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this particular game. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
hard to master.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya.